If you just raise your hand and one of the lead workers will give you a card, you can write it and they'll take it back to the screening committee. Of course, we can't guarantee that that will get answered because there's been other questions, but that's the way that would work. There are time constraints that we will adhere to. Basically, each candidate has 1 minute for opening statements, 1 minute to answer the questions from the audience, and 1 minute for closing statements. This is the way that we'll be rotating. Each candidate will answer each question that's asked. The first candidate to reply will be rotated. And then I think what we're going to do, for instance, the opening statement, Ms. Vernon will start. She'll make her opening statement, and then we'll go left to right down the line. The first question, the first one to answer the first question will be Mr. Briggs. But then we're going to go right to left. Then we're going to go left to right, right to left, left to right. So help me if we get confused. That way you're not always answering behind the same person. So it kind of flip-flops so we'll everybody help us keep on track there. Okay. The timekeepers are seated at the front, and they'll be timing you when you have 15 seconds left. They'll hold up a 15-second card, and then when time is up, there'll be a stop card. And if you go over the limit, I will, thank you for your answer, and then we'll go to the next one. We'll all be very nice, though. Okay, well, I think without further ado, we will start, and Ms. Vernon will start with her opening statement.
Okay, well, good evening. I'm so happy to see everybody here tonight, especially on a Friday. I think we've got a full house. I am Ann Vernon, and I am running to be your mayor. A lot of people want to know, why do you want to be the city's mayor? And it's a very easy answer for me. In my young career, I was a buyer for a very lucrative clothing company. And I've worked in and run several offices around Hobby Airport and other places. But there was never such a rewarding job as I had as city secretary here in the City of El Lago. The reason it was so rewarding to me is because it wasn't just a paycheck. I was working with each of you. I know so many of your faces because I dealt with you here at City Hall. I was able to hear your concerns and possibly either direct you or provide a solution to you. And I really loved doing that. Although I felt compelled by my conscience this last fall to have to leave employment at the city, I still want to continue to serve you as your mayor. So I'm happy and anxious to hear your questions, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Mr. Briggs?
Thank you to the League of Women Voters. It's a fine organization. There's 3 people up here tonight that are in, 2 of them are already in your government. And Ms. Vernon has been in your government. These are 3 very talented people that need to be in your government. And I would tell you, today, whether I win or lose, I'll still be in your government. I'll still be in position 5. But your choice is tough because you have to pick one of these 3 people to lead. I would tell you that it's my intention that Ann is a very talented person. And I want her in this government. If you elect me mayor, I'm going to try to appoint her to my council seat. You have to pick who you think can lead. You have to think about what leadership means. Because leadership really means, in my little Mayberry, getting people to work together. And that's not always easy.
Thank you. Mr. Skelton?
Well, my name is John Skelton. I've met most of you. I've been on the council. I'm a city council member. I've been on the council for, this is my 3rd term. I've had the honor of serving as your mayor pro tem for the last term, and I'm on my 2nd term as that. kind of what Mark said about leadership, I agree. Leadership, you guys got a difficult choice. I'm really looking forward to answering these questions and what you guys have. I really want, I see this as a unique opportunity. El Lago is a place, it's a city, but it's also a neighborhood. I want to make sure that when we're doing this and we're trying to do what's right for everybody, that we're doing it as a city, we got ordinances we're going to follow, but we're also neighbors. And I want to make sure that everyone understands that we're neighbors first, and then we take care of business after that. Thank you.
There was a fourth candidate for mayor, Mr. Tim Rogan, but he had a conflict tonight, so he is not here. Next, Mr. Jeff Hay.
I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters in the city for hosting this event. For those that don't know me, my name is Jeff Tay, a 26-year resident. I'm in my second house in the city. I've been volunteering in various efforts in the city for 25 years. I've been on council for 8 years. I care about this city. I think it's important when you have people on council, you try and get a variety of people from different backgrounds and expertises that all have different perspectives. My track record has been not a yes man. I'm an independent thinker. I feel like my decisions are based on data that are well justified. And I think that's crucial to what you have on your council. A bunch of independent people that come with their different backgrounds and come together hopefully and reach resolution to come with a common answer that's best for the city of El Lago. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Well, howdy, I'm Darren Boot Clark, and I'm running for City Council Position 1. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and all the citizens for coming out tonight. It's a testament that the city's ready for change. And I decided to run after coming to a city council meeting and seeing that we roadblocks and pounding on fists, on tables, and just hitting, we've got stalemate, we can't do anything about it. And there's a lot of egos in the room. Well, I've lived here since I was 11, moved away a couple times and come back. This has always been my permanent residence. And when I was 17, I started making bucket lists, and one of them was to be on city council. 2 years ago, I had a heart attack, and my life perspective changed. I got to figure out what's best for me, and that was to start working on my bucket list, and now I'm at a healthy point where I can serve this city and bring change to the city that's much needed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Mahalik.
I'm amazed you got my name right, thank you. All right, so some of y'all may or may not know that I'm actually running unopposed. So thank you, Bill, who's here tonight. So I can pretty much say whatever I want. So. Because we're in for a treat. So I think I would like to kind of take the opportunity to kind of frame this conversation and this election. A lot of people say I love El Lago, everybody loves El Lago, but kind of when you kind of get into the why, you kind of have a harder time articulating that. And kind of the thing that I look at is, I think the reason that El Lago is special and is really unique is because we trust each other, right? That's the thing that I see, right? I know that you've got my back and I've got your back. And so that's kind of what I want you to look at when you look at these candidates. You can listen to their answers about what they're going to do and how they're going to do it, but really get to kind of the why they're here. And I need somebody who's going to bring the city together. That's what I'm looking for.
Thank you. Okay, our first question is going to be answered first by Mr. Briggs, and then we're going to rotate to Ms. Vernon and back to Mr. Mahalik, etc. Okay, first question. Tough decisions. Local city government can mean being on the opposite side of friends and neighbors in making tough decisions for the city. Cite an example of a tough decision you faced like this and how you handled it.
The right decision is usually definitely not the easiest decision. Recently, I've had my odds with the mayor about how we deal with our financial situation. We've, on council, haven't had books for almost a year. And I had to bring the auditors in. Actually, I had to go get personal legal counsel to do so. Sometimes you have to fly into the face of how things are done. I've consulted with prior mayors, I consulted with other legislators, and we're just not doing things here in a manner that's appropriate. So, working together also means that we have to agree on what we want. We have to communicate with you, because it's your money. You are the ones who are spending the money, not us. It's your money we're spending. And that is probably the most important thing that we do up here.
Thank you. Ms. Vernon?
Well, I agree with Mr. Briggs that that's one of the most important things we do up here is represent you fairly in every effort. Probably the toughest decision I had to make happened about a year ago. I think everybody knows it now as driveway gate. This was an issue where someone wanted to build a driveway that was not in accordance with what was in our ordinances. More than that, the P&Z was adamant, was consistently working towards something that would not allow what they wanted to do. I exercised the power that I was given in the law as city secretary to stop it, and it divided the council. It divided me and the mayor. It divided my own neighborhood in the back, and it was pretty rough. But you know, that's part of integrity too. You've got to be willing to stand up for what you know is right. You've got to follow the law. If you don't like the law, then you need to change the law. But we've got to do what we're supposed to do, what we're here, which is to represent you fairly across the board.
Thank you. Mr. Mahalik?
All right, so this is actually a really easy one for me. I'm just really a very data-driven guy. So when we come up with a decision that we need to make, I just look at the facts, right? And I don't, kind of build consortiums and, kind of go do backward politics, right? Everything's out in the open, right? So all the decisions that I make are based on facts, right? So that's kind of, I guess probably the most recent one was the decision to sell the land, right? The parkland, right? So it's a very contentious issue, right? But I looked at all the facts and came to the decision, and that was it. So.
Thank you. Mr. Clark?
Well, I haven't had the pleasure to serve y'all yet, but I'm in HR and recruiting, and I work for a large oil and gas company, and I interact with the clients as well. So I was at a lunch where I found out, and there was a discussion with a client, and our HR rep is also a very good friend of mine. But they had some discussions that is in violation of our ethics policy. And I was posed with the decision. I had to search my heart to say, do I look aside and go away from and look inside, wait inside my friends, or do what's right for the company? And I actually had to have to talk with her and with her boss and do what's right for the company, because ethics matter, and I will make sure that ethics matter to the city too.
Thank you. Mr. Tate?
Okay, a two-part answer. Tough decisions within the city try and take consensus among all of city council. Hopefully, all the data is there to make the decision, and we can reach a consensus. I'm big on consistency and precedence. Consistency with past decisions based on the data, and what precedence is this going to set for the future if we're diverting from what we normally do. A personal tough decision I had was to run again. The last election was tough on me. It was a very difficult decision, but sometimes things happen for a reason. I have fire in me to get back on council and try and right things that I think we've made some changes in the city and procedures that I think were not to the benefit of the city. I'd like to return to council and help restore transparency and openness to the citizens of El Lago. Thank you.
Mr. Skelton?
So, Jeff stole my answer, but I'm going to answer it anyway. That land deal recently was really rough. And the reason it was rough was twofold, is that everybody was right on that. And, there was a town hall meeting, and they kind of voted, and it was voted on that boiled down to, the city wanted us to enter into negotiations on this land deal. But you had a very vocal minority that did not want this to happen, and that's okay. That's what people are doing. They're up here expressing their belief. And one of the hardest things to do setting up here is to stare right at people that you know's face and say, I hear you, but I disagree, respectfully. I disagree. And it takes strength, it takes character, and it's really hard to do. And I've proven that I can do it time and time again. I've been on both sides of it, and it's really tough. And I voted to sell that land, and it was not an easy decision. Something that I went for in a way that I did give a lot of personal insight, and I came to my own conclusions. Thanks.
Okay, and the way this is working, Mr. Skelton, you're going to be the first to answer the second question.
Ready and willing.
What drives you most in your function? Looking to the past or looking to the future? Choose only one. What's
It's really funny because my campaign slogan is forging our future while defending our past or something. It's a good one. I'm going to focus on the future right here. I really am. El Lago is a unique place. It needs to be protected. People live here for a reason. To do that, to continue that, to defend it, we've got to make sure that we are modernizing our techniques, our processes, our systems, and our methods to ensure that we can keep up in a modern world. And we got to do that without removing this part of the city that makes it so cool to live in. You know, we got to keep the volunteerism up. We have to make sure that we're taking advantage of technology as it becomes available. We have to make sure that we are looking at our ordinances, keeping them up to date. We can't wait for 50 years to update an ordinance. The world's changing too fast. And so I'm going to choose the future. I'll always choose the future.
Mr. Cave?
So the company I work for has 3 core values: do what's right, respect others, and perform with excellence. To be honest, all 3 of those are important to me, but if I were to pick out one that drives me, it's to do what's right. To do what's right, you have to, again, pull in all the data and try and make sense of the information that you have to ultimately, figure out what you think the best thing to do for El Lago. One of the things that has come up is selective enforcement of types of issues that come up. Consistency among what the city decisions make are crucial for the citizens to have trust in their government. They need to know they can get a repeatable response on a similar situation. So there is no question about one person getting advantage over another. So at the end of the day, I believe do what's right is the thing that's most important to me.
Thank you. Mr. Clark?
I'd say what motivates me is be able to be true to myself while serving others and be a servant leader. That's how I make my decisions, but I'm going to move towards the future. I want a future where all citizens have a voice, not just a small minority group. I met with a group of citizens last night that I was the first person that had ever come across that street as a council member to talk to the condo members. They were begging for a voice. And I want to be that voice to all. I want to listen to everybody, hear what you have to say, and then make a decision that's best for the city and for everyone. And the future is, repairing our streets that haven't been done. We've got the budget, it hasn't been done. I'm the guy that's going to get it done. I'm going to work with the council to do that. That's just one example of moving toward the future that I would like to see done, but be the people's voice.
Mr. Mahalik?
All right, so, what really drives me, and it's a little different angle, but it's the future, right? We have to obviously live in the future, right? And that's where we're headed, right? So, but I think the key thing for me is for the next administration, whoever gets there, is the future state of building the relationships back, right? I feel like the city's taken some hits as far as a lot of people have gotten polarized, and I don't really like that, right? This is a city of friends and the city of people that we love. So that's kind of the future that I see. I want to kind of bring the city back together, and That's the future that I'm looking for.
Ms. Vernon?
Okay, if I have to choose what motivates me, the past or the future, well, I'm going to give you a little bit of a convoluted answer, probably. I am motivated by the future. I'm definitely a person who looks to the future. In fact, in the office, they used to make fun of me because I love change. I love to shake things up a little bit. So I'm excited about a future for El Lago. I know things are changing, things are going to get a little different, and yet we still have to find a way to maintain, as Mr. Briggs said, our Mayberry here. You know, we have a very unique, cohesive, friendly, community-style environment, and we don't want to lose that. So I'm looking to the future to help build those relationships again, to continue on with the events that Mayor White started, which I think are fabulous, and our seniors program, and to build a future. My family has been here. I've been here since 1973. My husband since 63. We raised our kids here. We hope our kids raise their kids here. So definitely motivated by creating the future.
Mr. Briggs?
In Mayberry 2017, this city can send you a survey. It costs $300 a year to send you one survey a week. You can answer it. This city can know exactly what you think in no time. There's no reason for petty ambitions and personal agendas on this council. We can know what you want to do. It's easy to find out. That's Mayberry 2017. It's that simple. I yield my time.
Okay, the first to answer this question will be Mr. Cave. And if the city should embrace and communicate one big theme, what would that be? Theme.
One big theme. Okay, well, El Lago is a city of roughly 3,000 residents for a small town. And generally, most people moved here for a small town atmosphere. So I think the theme will be to maintain that small town atmosphere where we're all friends. We're not going to all agree on things, on every issue. In fact, on most issues, we're not going to agree. And that's fine. That's diversity. You want to have different opinions because when you can pull that all together, you'll end up with one great solution. So I think it's embracing the 3,000 residents, 3,000 different opinions we have, which maybe come down to maybe half a dozen, and then figure out what's the best thing for all of us, and then make that decision and move on. And, you know, no one's going to be happy when you have a compromise, but that's why it's a compromise. And so make that decision with that compromise and move on.
Mr. Skelton?
A theme. Well, I'm a space junkie. You know, City of Astronauts we've been called before. I think I like, I might steal Mr. Briggs's deal here, Mayberry 2017. That's a theme. No, but the theme that I would like to portray, that I wish the city would take is, you know, honesty, integrity, and a lot of fun. And I think it does that very well in here. We got to make sure that we have the checks and balances in place to keep it that way. But I think that we're a neighborhood first. I said in my opening remarks, we're a neighborhood first, we're a city second. And that's the theme that I would portray. I would always portray that way. I think that common sense needs to play a role in your government when you're this size. Absolutely. I don't think you ought to be up here hiding behind the ordinances. Somebody said it earlier. You know, it's a bad law. Change it. I agree with that completely.
Mr. Briggs?
Mayberry 2017. You can use that. Here's the deal. It's a mature community. It's built out. All the homes are built. We have a tiny business district. It's mature. Mayberry 2017 is defend your borders. Because around us, we're going to experience tremendous growth. 146 is coming through. Seabrook is going to grow. Traffic is going to be incredible around this city. Those effects are predictable. Your council in Mayberry 2017 needs to plan and execute to defend our borders. I yield my time.
Ms. Vernon?
Okay, so I think the theme for El Lago would be best described in one word, and that's called community. You're going to hear that spoken a lot tonight, but that's because it's an unusual thing that we happen to encapsulate here in El Lago. You know, it's interesting, but over the years that I've lived here, you talk to other people and they're like, oh, you live in El Lago? I want to live in El Lago. People are waiting in line for our houses because we have something very unique. We don't have a transient neighborhood. All your neighbors don't come and go constantly. You have people who move here when they are in their 20s and they stay and raise their kids and their grandkids here as well. So I think community best describes us, and I do think that we are going to have to protect that. We're going to have to work hard. It's growing up around us in such that we're going to have to learn how to live in a more urban style environment while still maintaining the charm that we have.
Ms. Mahal?
So if we're going to do Mayberry 2017, who gets to be Otis? Okay, theme. So, you know, it sounds kind of cheesy, but I actually was talking this phrase a few months ago. So I think peace, love, and El Lago is kind of what I think, right? I mean, seriously, you know, you're going to hear me repeating the same thing over and over again, right? I just want this community to come back together, right? I don't like the fighting. I don't like the crap on next door, I'll be honest. I just want it to get nicer, right? So we are community friends, that's it, right? So just be nice to each other, right? All right.
Mr. Clark?
You know, I think it's evolving what our theme is, and I think we've got a great history, but we need to come together and figure out what that is. And then once we create an identity, then we can all be brand ambassadors for that. But I think Julie started one, and it's one of the volunteer group. I love El Lago. Everybody loves the city. I'm sorry?
Rob started that.
Robbie started that. I love El Lago. And that's big, right? I mean, I've lived almost my whole life here. And I do love it. And that's why I'm up here tonight. That's why I want to serve you guys. And it's a great place to walk. In the evenings, it's a great place to live, raise a family. My grandkids love it. And I think that'd probably be the theme for 2017 is I love El Lago. And then let's figure out how to embrace it and move it forward for the future so that we can have that for years to come.
Thank you. And Mr. Clark, you're going to be the first to answer this one. How do you see the City of El Lago in the next 5 years? What is its biggest challenge, and how would you address it?
Well, I see the city in the next 5 years as moving forward and getting things done that we haven't been able to get done in the last 3 city sidewalks. They need repair. We've got the money in the budget. Let's do it. Let's update our entranceways. We've got the money in the budget. We haven't done it. There's a beautiful park out here and a park system. Let's figure out the bathroom situation. We can do that. We just agreed to sell the land, or the city council did, to the tune of $20,000. I've gotten 3 rough estimates from 3 different builders that said we can build a bathroom if that's the choice we decide to do for under $20,000. Or we can use the key pass system, which they were talking about in the last city council meeting, and then we'd all have key passes and we could use the city bathrooms. I think we just need to address the city functions that need to be fixed, but then let's continue with the community organizations and the city celebrations and what makes El Lago great.
Mr. Mahalik?
All right. So I've heard it said that if you say that's a great question, you're just delayed for time. So that's a good question. You know, 5 years, gosh, 5-year plan. I'd love to put a 5-year plan together for this city. I think it's a great idea. You know, there's some infrastructure things we need to do, clearly, but I think we've never looked past a year, honestly, quite frankly, so budget-wise. So I think it's a great idea. So, you know, I think the key thing for me is really to kind of come up with that plan, right? So I can't sit right here and say I know exactly what we need to do in the next 5 years, but I think sitting down and mapping that out and planning for it and actually putting money away for things that are really expensive would be a great idea.
Ms. Vernon?
Well, one of my things is I like to say I have a vision for this city, and I do. Part of my vision is what we keep talking about, maintaining our community, maintaining the borders, maintaining our wonderful park and atmosphere. The fact that most of us can walk away from our home with the back door unlocked or the garage door open and not be too terribly concerned. But I also really would like to continue what Mayor White started as far as the green effort in the city. I really love that idea of working with the community to get everybody on sustainable power. We looked into solar, and it's a little hard with the cost making it work out, but one day, maybe in 5 years, I would like to see our pool facility completely run by solar power. I'm actually looking at locations where we can have community gardens, and if that works out, then we can have vegetable swap meets at McNair Park. So I see a wonderful future for El Lago in the next 5 years.
Mr. Briggs?
Issue politics is a manipulative venture. You're not going to hear anything up here tonight that anybody's against. We want bathrooms, we want gardens, we want this, we want that, we want that, we want that. Why do we not have them? We don't have them because we have horrible management systems. And just because we're small doesn't mean that we can't be professional. All right? It's very simple. Small cities do it all the time. We have a budget. We need leadership. These people up here to put together professional management systems to accomplish things and stop jumping to solutions and running on opinions. Professional management systems is what the city needs.
Mr. Skelton?
So when I think about El Lago in 5 years, I see a number of threats. It came up in the opening comments. The 146 expansion is a threat. You've got to have the right kind of leadership up here. Professional systems, absolutely. You need to make sure you have that as well. But I see El Lago holding its own and maintaining what it is despite the threats. I think is the best way I would say that. There's modernization going around all around us. They're going to be putting in shopping centers over there, the traffic circle over there. Keeping El Lago unique, and not just unique, keeping its identity is going to be crucial for the next 5 years. And I think that the council and me as the mayor can do that. It's not going to be easy. We're going to do a lot of what's been talked about up here, but we're going to be really fighting to make sure that the city stays the way that it is. Thank you.
Mr. Tate?
Okay, 5 years. City needs short-term and long-term priorities. I would consider the 5 years sort of a short-term time frame. So I would say the things that we should be doing within the next 5 years will be to fixing things that may be broken in our systems and our management systems like Mr. Briggs has suggested. And I don't think there's a whole lot of broken things, a few things that need to be addressed. But setting up short-term priorities to address easy things that can get done, things that are called low-hanging fruit. We're working towards getting bathroom access to the gym for people using McNair Park. Let's get it done, make that happen. The Seabrook Town Center that's on our border, that will be developed probably a good chunk within 5 years. We need to address that in the near term so our residents along that border will be protected and not be overburdened by development. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next question will be addressed first by Mr. Mahalik. What does ethical behavior mean to you, and how do you demonstrate it?
That's a very good question. To me, again, it's easy for me. I don't really, you can ask anybody that knows me. I don't play favorites. The story you get from me is a story you get that everybody gets from me. So ethics is just kind of a thing that I do. So I don't even know how to operate outside of ethics. So, I think if you have tracked what I've done with City Council over the year and a half I've been here, I think you can see that I never kind of follow the crowd or just kind of go along to get along, right? It's always based on what I believe is the best thing for the city, what I believe is the best thing for the the citizens and what I truly believe is kind of the best thing in general. So.
Mr. Clark?
Ethics means doing the right thing, even though the crowd isn't going that way. Making the right decision every time. But at the same time, you just got to do what's best. And you've got to search in your heart and go with your gut. It doesn't lead you wrong. It's following a set of rules and ordinances. And if we don't like those rules and ordinances, we need to change them. But you've got to stand up for what's right and what you believe in. It's pretty simple. Jeff said it best. It's what I live by. My family, my friends, my coworkers, they all know that I'm an ethical person and I'm going to do the right thing even when nobody's looking. So you can trust me.
Mr. Tave?
Well, this is sort of a rehash for me as far as what drives me the road most, as far as do what's right. I don't really think about it. I think, as my opponent mentioned, you sort of know in your gut sort of what the right thing is. Sometimes it may take a while to get there, but, that little voice that's telling you, squeaking in your ear, probably telling you what the right thing it is, even though it may be a hard decision. Leadership by example is how I demonstrate what the right thing is. Again, it may be a tough decision to make, but make the decision, move on, and then get behind the team and try and make what's best. Leadership by example means you're not the same, you're not different than everyone else. As a leader here, we're all citizens. We all should be treated the same among the rules and regulations. And just
Thank you.
thank you.
Mrs. Wilson?
Ethical behavior, we know the definition. Ethics is hard. I'll set that. Ethics is hard. Let me tell you what it takes to be ethical. You can't be lazy. You got to go and read really boring documents. You have to go and you got to really understand what that means. It also is a judgment call 9 times out of 10. You can be in one situation and it's ethical, and when you do what appears to be exactly the same, it's not ethical. You got to be self-aware. You got to have experience to be ethical. Ethics are always evolving. They're always looking. Technology, social media has changed ethics in a way that is just crucial. I mean, we all read, we all look at social media. Just because it's legal, is it ethical? I would say no, it's not. Ethics is about doing what you know to be right and using every ounce of your experience and your strength to keep it.
Thank you. Mr. Briggs?
If, as citizens, you want to encourage ethical behavior by your government, the best way to do that is to set up systems where you have complete transparency, because that enforces accountability. When things are secret back here, everybody can say they're ethical. Complete transparency and accountability enforces ethical behavior.
Ms. Vernon?
Well, for me, ethical behavior means being able to go home at night, and even though you're concerned about certain situations, you can lay your head on the pillow and it doesn't keep you up because you know you did the right thing. I answer to a higher power, and so I'm going to tell you that my sense of ethicalness, my accountability is not just to myself and what I think is right, but it's what's to absolutely right, which means always acting with integrity, with honesty, being forthright, putting the information out there, not being afraid to tell people what's true and what's not true, posting on the website things you want to see and things you don't want to see. That's my idea of ethical behavior.
Thank you. And Ms. Vernon, you're going to be first to answer the next question.
That's the tough one. Turn around.
Give us your financial background from the last 5 years.
Now, is that personal or is that in business meetings?
It just says your financial background, so I
Okay,
assume,
Okay, well-
making assumptions, so.
okay. Well, I'm going to take that as I mean, what is my knowledge of finances and how do I handle those? As most of you know, I was city secretary for the last 10 years, so that would include those 5. Working here at the city and before this time here, I was trained as a bookkeeper. And I was in charge of making sure all the information was ready and prepared for the auditors, which they always gave me a clean bill of health every year, so that was a good thing. It's making sure that your balance sheets balance. It's being able to pull up any data that you need quickly. Financial background, that's a hard one. I guess I have a lot of experience in basic bookkeeping. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Briggs?
I'm a successful businessman. I've been in business for 30 years. I run several small companies now. I'm familiar with accounting, lawsuits, contracts, working with the government. And that's me. Thank you.
Mr. Stilton?
The last 5 years. Let's see. My place of employment, I'm a certified contract specialist. I deal with billions of dollars every day in this. I've been on the city council. I've served as its financial investment committee at the start of the 5 years. I've done a number of things involving finances. I run a small business with my family. I run the books. How's that for an easy kid? Right there. And overall, I'm familiar with a number of different financial systems. More importantly, I understand what it takes, what people need when they're looking for financial. When people ask for finances and they want to look at it, and half the time they get a bunch of information with a bunch of numbers. They don't know what it is. They don't know what it means. I know what people need so they understand it, so they know what they're looking at, and that's really what they're asking for. Thank you.
Mr. Tate?
From a work perspective, I'm a manager. I've had 15 to 25 people that have reported to me over the years. So personnel budget of over a couple $1 million. As far as my personal financial, I do my own taxes. I still do it on paper, and I mail it in to the post office. I don't outsource it. As far as the city's financials, I treat taxpayer dollars like they're my dollars because they are my dollars. I'm a taxpayer. So every dollar spent is a dollar out of my or your pocket. And if it isn't well justified, then it doesn't need to be spent. If we're making changes to how we're doing things, and there's not a good justification while we're making the changes, then we shouldn't make those changes. We only have a certain amount of dollars in the city. Property rates, values have been rising, which means our tax dollars shouldn't still be flat, so we need to efficiently use tax dollars.
Mr. Clark?
I do my own taxes as well, and I use TurboTax. I e-file, and I'm cash positive, and I get a little refund. So I think I'm doing okay. Professionally, I manage a P&L of a 40,000 person engineering company for the recruiting budget. So I'm responsible for that. In the past, I've been a business owner. I've owned a company called Tumblebuster, Texas. Had that, ran successfully for 7 years, and then sold it. I do what's right with my money. I believe that you got to have a 6-month emergency fund because you never know what's going to happen. The only thing constant is change. We're in a city that lives by the bay, and we have hurricanes, so we need to have a safety net there. We can't work without a net. So professionally and personally, I believe that we have to save for a rainy day and spend wisely. Thank you.
Okay, so I actually went to college to be an accountant, so and realized I wasn't really cut out for that. No offense to the accountants, it's just not my deal. So anyways, I'm well versed in income statements and balance sheets and things like that. I currently, with the position I'm in at my company, I have a $4 million budget that I'm responsible for. So again, clear with the, POs and invoices and vendor relationships and all those types of things. So, is that what you guys are looking for? I don't do my own taxes because that separates my brain. So.
Okay, the next question will be answered first by Mr. Briggs. What do you believe is the role of mayor? What unique qualities should a mayor bring to the role?
The role of the mayor is to lead the council and administrate the government. The role of the council is to keep check on the mayor and oversight of the finances for the city, listen to constituents. What was the second part of the question?
What unique qualities should a mayor bring to the role?
Leadership. You need leadership. You have to decide what leadership is. There's very qualified people up here. Leadership means no personal agenda and no, how do I put this right? If you're not here for service, then you're in the wrong place. If you're here for pride, you're here for the wrong thing. You should be here for a couple of terms and you should be gone. That's what citizen servants do.
Ms. Vernon?
Of course, the mayor is the leader. It's the highest elected official in the city, and so by default, they are the leader. And in an emergency or critical situation that requires quick decisions, they're in charge. But in truth, your city council is really in charge in this city. So as a mayor, I think it's extremely important that you be a servant mayor, that you are here to facilitate the council, provide them all the information and the data that they need so that they can make quality decisions for the city. And that's what I think makes a good mayor.
Ms. Mahalik?
All right, so, the job of the mayor, actually, I read the definition of it a few years ago. But I think really, it is the figurehead of the city, right? So I think the mayor sets the tone for the city. That's, in my head, what it is, right? The other jobs are important, managing things and making sure things happen and, all the accounting, but really, it sets the tone for the city. So that's what I'm looking for from mayor, someone who can come in and set a positive tone, right? Set up something that basically says, we're here to serve, right? So, and that's, to me, that's a unique quality. So.
Mr. Clark?
Servant leadership. I said that in my opening statement, and I believe it. I think that you need some qualities you're looking for in a mayor is someone who's ethical, who's honest, who's full of integrity, who's going to listen to the people, who's going to make all the meetings, who's going to be the voice of reason, maintain a level of calm even when there's disputes, be there for the good times, but also be the first one out there when something bad's going on in the city. Be the last one out. We're going to have hurricanes. We're going to have tragedies and disasters. You can't tuck tail and run. You got to be there. You got to be ready. You got to be a defender of the city. You got to be the voice of reason. You got to be calm. You got to be honest. You got to listen to the people and do the will of the people. And I think that's what it takes to be a mayor.
Mr. Tave?
In our government here in El Lago, there's 5 city council people that make the decisions. In a perfect world, there's going to be 5 different views on these situations. So the mayor needs to, quote, herd the cats and pull out consensus from those 5 different people. So that means balancing the needs of one versus the other and trying to distill the commonalities between those differences, if they are. And then lead that group to a common agreed upon decision that pulls together the differences that each of the council people have contributed to that discussion. So I think consensus building is important. I think the mayor should be something the council and the citizens should be able to look up to as far as ethical behavior and transparency, so there's no questions.
Vision.
The mayor needs to set the vision. The council is going to make the decisions. I agree completely. I think that's what they're supposed to do. The mayor needs to enable them to do that by having clear, transparent processes in place that lets them know how to go about doing that. They're volunteers. We're all volunteers. Here, you need to know how the mechanism works in order to do that. Strength, leadership, that's really important. But let me just kind of paint how that looks. Strength is not being louder than anyone in the room. It may be you're the quietest one in the room, but you're going to remain calm whenever things are blowing up. You're going to have a way, an idea of how to move forward at any given time. You're gonna be the person that is always moving the city forward, so that we're not stuck and we're not in a stalemate on any given issue. That's a quality of a mayor.
And Mr. Skelton, you're going to be the first to answer the next question. What would be your media policy with regard to elected officials' use of social and legacy media, as well as the community newsletter?
Could you repeat that?
Sure. What would be your media policy with regard to elected officials' use of social and legacy media, as well as the community newsletter?
Okay. I don't believe that elected officials should be using social media for information regarding the city. I don't. I would encourage the council to put a policy in place that prohibits elected officials from doing that. And a lot of people don't realize that when you're elected, when you walk out this door, I'm still John Skelton, council member. I'm not John Skelton, the person that's going to go, hey, you suck on next door or something like that. I can't do that, right? And nobody should be able to do that, especially the people who are representing the whole city on this. I feel strong enough about it that I don't believe, I'll say it again, I do not believe that elected officials should be on social media spouting off about why they're mad about something. As far as the newsletter goes, I think writing pieces that is non-partisan, if you will, I don't realize it's in the partisan government, I think it would be under close scrutiny of the council.
Ms. Briggs?
I'm not on social media. And there's a lot of times I'm really glad that I'm not. With regard to, the newspaper, look, it's America. There's a First Amendment. The question can go anywhere. I'm not sure the council needs to have a policy at all. It's America. You can write what you want in the newspaper. It happens all the time. The thing that always frightens me about social media is people will say things on social media that they won't say to your face. And things happen so quickly. I think I check our Facebook page maybe once a year. Susan and I have one together, Mark and Susan Boehner Briggs. And I'm not on any other sites. It just is difficult for me.
Ms. Vernon?
I agree with Councilman Skelton when he says that if you're an elected official, when you walk out that door, you remain an elected official. In fact, there's a policy, we have citizens forum at council meetings, and officials of the city are not supposed to get up and speak at that time because they're not the citizen, they're a city official. So with that in mind, I believe that any kind of information that goes out on behalf of the city should go through the city offices and through proper procedure and approval process. They shouldn't go off on their own and decide to start posting things under the guise of the city. Now again, the First Amendment, you can't stop people from talking about their own personal opinions about things, but I do believe that they should leave the business of the city alone when they're posting on their media.
Ms. Mahalik?
All right, so you already know my opinion next door. So, social media obviously is quite terrifying to me. I think it's out of control. It's crazy. I think if you're going to post on a site like that, I think You know, again, you're always a councilman, right? If you're an elected official, you're always an elected official. You know, you have to identify yourself and say, this is my role, this is what I think, and it's officially, this is what I think, right? And if it's going to be in print, I think it does need to go and be reviewed, right? Because I don't think, as long as everyone knows that what you're saying is your opinion in that role, I think it's okay. But it's when we just kind of start spouting off different things with kind of really no thought, that's something that makes me nervous. So, yeah, I think we do actually need a policy. And make it clear that what the expectations are. I mean, let's be professional guys, right? It's kind of common sense to me, but.
Well, I think that, and I believe that you're on the council or you're not, and you're either reporting the news or you are the news. You're a councilman 24/7. I think there's a conflict of interest whenever you're reporting and being an editor, as my opponent is, and then you're also wanting to be on council. There's a conflict of interest there. Everybody's got a sense of bias with them. It's implicit, and you can't get away from that. So, but then you bring yourself up to the Texas Open Meetings Act, and you can have a walking forum with two or more councilmen or members of the council of the mayor get involved, and that can be an issue in itself. And then you've got a legal issue, and volunteers can go to jail. So I think we definitely need a policy. It should be a no social media unless it's reviewed, or no written media unless it's reviewed and agreed upon. Because yes, there's freedom of speech, but at the same time, nothing worth going to jail for.
Mr. Tate?
We're a small town, and to maintain and accomplish things in a small town, sometimes people wear multiple hats. And the question is if you're able to wear multiple hats and separate your roles appropriately, and there hasn't been any issues, then that should be okay. As far as elected officials' use of social media, I think that's fine. Most of the time, people are posting factual information, and that's fine. However, you are an elected official 24/7, so you have to be sensitive to that fact. You also need to be sensitive that there isn't any kind of violations of the Texas Open Meetings Act, which means you can't have more than two council people sort of weighing in on a topic in a social forum. So that's something you just always have to be aware of. And as far as legacy media, 11 Ton is a 40-year tradition. In my role as editor, when I was on council, I backed off. I just maintained and operated as an operations manager.
Okay, Mr. Tate, you'll answer the next question first. And there were several questions that concerned the following issue. What are your plans to address the bathroom issue in McNair Park? Please be detailed in your response.
Okay. When we developed the community center, the original plan was to have a bathroom that citizens would be able to access. Along the development of those plans, unfortunately, the bathroom got cut. So, in its place, and along this time, we sort of had porta potty. It's not a perfect solution, however, I think it's like an $80 a month charge, which is a drag. To be honest, I didn't realize there was much of a bathroom issue until recently, when I've heard more residents' complaints. We have an easy fix right now. First off, a bathroom committee was formed, and they had a couple recommendations. Short-term recommendation is to use existing facilities and provide secure access to all citizens. All citizens should have access at no charge to use that. Your taxpayers have paid for the community center. Long-term, perhaps an independent building to serve the community for the bathrooms.
Mr. Clark?
Well, I've looked into this, and I think all options should be on the table. We should present them. And then it's such a passionate topic, I think we need to bring it to the citizens as well. But for $20,000, we've got the money through the land sale. We can look into putting a freestanding bathroom, two-stall bathroom out there. That would have to be very strong, very rigid, that can't be damaged by vandals or kids or whatever. But I think there's also a cheaper way too, by using the key pass access. I think for a nominal fee, a couple dollars, whatever the cost is, no money made on it, everybody come up and give a deposit, put a deposit down for your key. Then you can use the city bathrooms whenever they're available. But I don't think they should be 24/7 by any means, because bad things happen when nobody's around. So I think there's a lot of options that we need to look at, but we need to solve it in the first year. No questions asked.
This conversation is making me need to go to the bathroom. No, I think you're not getting anything different from me. I think we have bathrooms that we can create key card access and secure it with the video cameras in there, not in the bathroom, but video camera in the bathroom. We'll watch the interaction, make sure nothing happens in there. Yeah, then look at, potentially building a freestanding building in the park. So I think Robbie left, but I'll probably want to call it the White House.
Ms. Vernon?
Okay, I definitely think that we need a freestanding bathroom to serve our park. In fact, I think that was part of the initial plan when this park was constructed. We were supposed to put bathrooms in. I'd like to see it done sooner rather than later, because I don't like the idea of having the building accessed. You could do card keys, but that's a whole lot of card keys to issue, and that does get extremely expensive. And it's very time consuming on the staff to have to input that information and program each one separately. So I think we need to do it sooner. It needs to be constructed probably somewhere near this building or near the tennis courts, because you want to take advantage of the proximity of the water and the sewer lines. It needs to be a freestanding, double-sided, double-access building that's an open air at the top, so you have just enough privacy, but not too much privacy so things can't go on that you don't want going on. I think that the staff, the maintenance crew can maintain those bathrooms, open them up in the morning, and I think the PD can shut them down at night when the park closes.
Ms. Briggs?
Everyone up here has an opinion about what the bathroom should look like. We've had an opinion for a long time about what the bathroom should look like. Here's the issue. Nobody up here is a city planner. City planning's been around since the 1500s. We need a city planner. You need to say, do we want the Little Leaguers to use it? How many people are going to use it? There's a lot of data that needs to be gathered. Once you have that, put a budget number on it, take it to the people, they give a presentation, we vote on it, and we build them. It's a very simple process. It's done all over the place, all over the state, all over the nation, but we don't do it. We have a lot of opinions about what kind of bathroom you want. Let's give you the choices, tell you how much they cost, and you can tell us which one you want. It won't take very long. I'll give you my 15 seconds.
So I was on that committee that was recommending what to do with the bathroom, so I'm going to echo what that is right here. Start off with phase one, let them access here so we can do something immediate. Secondly, is that I agree freestanding out here is the end goal. I want something that looks nice and I want something that works. Just planning would be a really good thing in that regard. That was the recommendations that was delivered to the council. So in terms of the long term, we've gotten bids back anywhere from $20,000 to $450,000 on it, depending on the bathroom you want. I don't really care. I agree as long as, what does the citizens think we need? What do we really need? Is it safe? Is it secure? And does it work? That's what I'm going to vote for. That's what we're going to put in when we decide to do this. Meanwhile, we can use it over here to do it because no one likes going to the porta cans, and I agree completely. Neither do I.
Mr. Clark will answer this question first. El Lago continues its transition from the original population to new young families. How do you intend to balance the priorities of our old and new families? Some priorities are very different.
Well, I think we've got some great organizations, the Garden Club, and we need to have mentorship. We need to get new members in and learn from the history and the tribal knowledge of the people that have been involved for so long and done a great job. I think we can bring some events to the parks that'll attract newer families, maybe a putting green, sand volleyball pit. A lot of little the kids use it, but let's get the adults out there using it as well. I think we need to look and continue on the green space. I think that's good. A good environment is good for the city and it's good for the future residents. And I think we need to look at probably figure out some way to fix the internet problem. It's so slow. Xfinity is faster than Frontier, and Frontier is ridiculous. I can get in the last slot of a jar quicker than I can get something to download on my computer. So those are the things that I would do to help move the city forward and attract new citizens, but at the same time preserving the legacy of the ones that are here.
Going back, Mr. Tate.
Priorities change. El Lago's always had a wave of old to new to old, well, not to say back to old, but as people age, the new people become the old people, and then you have new people come in. So that's always going to happen. When you get a set of priorities, that's cutting a sort of a point in time. And those priorities are good for a certain period, but they're only good for a certain period. Mr. Briggs' idea of doing surveys on a more regular basis is a great idea to survey the population to find out what they want, what is important to them. So I think that should be done on a more regular basis to help provide input to council to set our priorities. The mayor should also, again, set the long goal, help set those long-term priorities with council's help, and then survey the priorities along the way to help us achieve those.
Skelton?
I kind of challenge the premise of the question. I'm not so sure that they do conflict all that much. Everybody wants to live somewhere nice, safe, and secure. They might disagree on the ways to go about doing it. But just to be specific with you for a second here, I think that one of the things that everybody needs is updated laws that reflect the modern world around them. I think the council's job and the mayor's job is to go in regularly and update their ordinances so you're not dealing with something from 1950 that no longer applies. I think that's really important. I think under the previous administration, the senior activities and events that were planned were excellent. I think we need more of those for folks in different age groups. I think that's critical. The other big point would be, I lost my train of thought. I'm going to yield. Thank you. Here you have
You know, in Mayberry 2017 or 2027, I used to think I was a young person. Now I think I'm an old person, but everything is so relative. I have my 80-plus year old in-laws living here now. Look, I love my young neighbors. I love my old neighbors. I love my late middle-aged neighbors. I'm not sure there's technology marches on. I think we're all in violent agreement up here. We have these great systems. We can communicate with people better now. The younger generation brings us all kinds of new stuff all the time that I'm just amazed with. But I'm really amazed with this ability to communicate with citizens on just almost an instantaneous basis. We can do things better. I give you my 50 seconds.
Well, I have to agree that I don't believe that the priorities of old and new families are necessarily, opposite of each other. For example, the sidewalks. Our elderly people, they need safe, secure sidewalks to walk on that they're not going to trip and break a hip on. And we need sidewalks for our young kids to be able to play and ride their scooters and things on to stay out of the street. So I think that would be an important goal that would meet the needs of everyone. I think that this community center has been another thing that we have done that's met both. We have kids groups in here in the summer. We have camps that go on for children. We also have senior programs where they come and do exercises. So again, we have managed to meet both of those needs at one time. The sustainability, conservation effort, renewable energy, again, that's taking care of the world for our future, and it's also a competitively priced thing, so it's taking care of your pocketbook today. So I think that's a great thing that we have done. Of course, we need to continually make sure that we keep our parks and our park equipment updated.
Mr. Pollock?
So, yeah, I'm kind of struggling with what would be in conflict. I guess you can look at potentially the programs that the city puts on, but I think a lot of those oftentimes are pretty cheap and fairly, fairly inexpensive. So, I think the key thing for me is just to make sure we don't leave anybody out, right? So I think Robin's done a great job of getting the seniors involved. I think, we have the city events, which is kind of one demographic, and then we've got seniors, that's one demographic. Are we missing anybody? That would kind of be the thing that I'm looking for.
We have the knitting club.
The knitting club, right? Thank you, Gene. Demographic, so that's what I would look for, is just, are we missing anybody, right? Is anybody here that's just not engaged? I talked to Dale from the condos across the street last night, and said, the condos even knows that we're part of El Lago. So, that's a group that maybe we can engage and say, hey, what can we do for you? Because I can serve you.
Mr. Mahalik, you're going to answer them. The first answer. The police, the HOAs, and the city secretary have struggled with inconsistent code enforcement for many years. How specifically do you propose to ensure improvement in this area, which is so important to maintaining property values? And how do you do that without perhaps micromanaging individual properties?
Okay, so I've actually got direct experience in this. I'm actually on the HOA for section 1 through 4. So, the thing is with the whole theory of selective enforcement. I mean, we have pretty clear guidelines of how people need to maintain their yards, what they need to do. The thing is, we don't really want our police going out and looking for runners in the driveways and looking at the street, right? So what we've gone to is a plan where if somebody complains, then we'll address it, right? In the HOAs, we do drive-bys in my section. The letters go out. We don't have a lot of power. It's kind of just the letters go out. What we've done is if we collect a few letters, then we'll be the complainant on behalf of the city and say, here, can you go enforce this, right? Because we don't have any, we don't have any teeth, right, on the HOA. So I think the process is working. If you just continue to kind of, it's peer pressure, I guess, so.
Ms. Vernon?
I really despise the term selective enforcement. That has been bantered around now for quite some time. As Mr. Mahalik said, we have a process in place right now where basically you, as the citizens, get to determine, for the most part, who has the codes enforced on them. You might have two separate streets where there are different houses allowing your grass to grow 8 inches. But if the neighbors of one don't care and drive by every day and don't report it, whereas the neighbors of the other, it concerns them greatly and it concerns them what it does to their property value. They come in and report it, then it does get addressed. The police don't go out and try and enforce city ordinances. They are looking for criminal activity more. So I think that we do need to do a little bit more code enforcement. I know our HOAs are a little bit unable, actually, to do much of that other than write ugly letters. So we need to combine our efforts with the police more consistently.
Ms. Briggs?
Programs are seriously broken. I think everybody really can admit it. The Homeowners Association, completely underfunded. And, in 10 years with inflation and the inability to raise those rates, going to really be a struggle for the Homeowners Association to even survive. I know. I resurrected it 15 years ago from the dust. The police are the wrong agency to really do, yard inspections, and your grass has not cut too long. They're out there to solve crime. The city doesn't really have the right staff, hasn't invested in it. It's a problem. You're going to have to help solve it because there's no easy answer. There's no idea up here that's going to magically fix it. It's going to have to be an interaction with your community that comes up with some solutions to those problems. It's going to be more than one solution. And there's going to have to be a conversation.
I'd say engagement, community engagement is the only thing that's going to fix this. The city can work with the HOAs can work with the city. It takes caring citizenry that's involved and is in there, that is getting involved. They're serving on HOA boards. They're coming to the city council meetings. They're letting folks know what's going on and where. And, you know, that's what it's going to take in order to do this. I've been on a number of efforts, whether it's trash left on the street, whether it's someone running a business out of their house or something like that. And it's always hard to do. Don't get me wrong, we can certainly write better rules that are easier to follow. We got to stay constant with that too. But it's going to take engagement by the community with active leaders that are moving and doing what they can to make sure that people understand how to engage.
Mr. Tate?
The way violations of our city ordinances are handled from the city is typically they're driven by the citizens. A complaint comes in, the city receives it, documents it, typically sends the police chief or the code enforcement officer to examine the issue. If there's a violation, the resident is written up and then it goes to court. However, there's a consistency and fairness issue. What you don't want to have happen, which has happened, is these violations go to court and then the resident who received the violation has evidence of other areas that have the same issue, yet they weren't written up. So the case gets thrown out. What's the point? If you want consistency and fairness, if you're going to cite someone for a violation, then maybe before you go to court, or maybe before you cite that person, you do a quick survey to see if this is a common issue, and then you try and address the common issue, and not just single out individual people. Because what you want is effective enforcement, rather than single point failures, where you have enforcement and then it gets kicked out of court.
Well, I think we live in a city that's thriving. We're all residents that are not broke. We all can afford to keep our lawns up and mowed, our houses in good repair, keep the rodents away. If we're not doing that, then you should be fined. I mean, plain and simple, we've got a beautiful community. We cannot afford for it to get run down or dilapidated. If you can't afford to get your lawn mowed, if you can't afford to mow your lawn, then get it mowed. Pay to get it mowed. We got a great bunch of services out here. And if you can't afford to do that, then ask a neighbor to help. But we've got to keep our codes up and enforce them. And the only way we're going to do that, as everybody said, is if citizens police themselves, turn it in, then they'll investigate, they'll get fined. And if it's in violation, they should be fined.
Ms. Vernon, you're going to be the first to answer. How would you work together with neighboring communities such as Seabrook, and what issues do you see do you need to work with neighboring communities?
Well, the biggest issue that I can think of right off the top of my head is we have problems with traffic along Repstorff Road. You know, Repstorff belongs to the county. It's in the boundaries of the city of Seabrook, and it's, you know, some of the main access points for our residents of El Lago. So that's an issue. I've already been speaking with Commissioner Jack Mormon about helping to relieve congestion there by possibly putting in turn lanes or other options that we're considering. We would meet with the mayor and the council of the city of Seabrook and do a comprehensive plan that would resolve our issues. I'm sure that it would take financing from all three parties.
Thank you. Ms. Mahal?
So, yeah, I think, the 146 expansion is the biggest concern I've got, and then that nice little shopping center, which is going to be really nice, but it's going to bring a lot of traffic in. I'm very concerned. So I think those would be the key things to work with Seabrook on, is just trying to figure out how we're going to solve it, because, you know, I think they've got citizens along Repstorff as well, so it's not like it just would be an El Lago thing. I think it's in our beneficial best interest to solve the problem. So.
Communication. I think that El Lago and Seabrook need to get better communication. Our council members and our mayors need to get together and work on a collaborative solution. Like Jeff said, we've got citizens of both cities right along Repstorff. We've got a community centers going over there, and that's going to bring in trash and rodents and other little bugs that come along with it. We got to figure out how we maintain that and also solve the traffic problem. And the way to do that is through communication and working together to where everybody gets a solution that works for the common good.
Okay,
We need to try and work with our neighboring communities. First off is trying to meet with them. The three, or actually four areas that I see coming up: Seabrook Town Center, impacting our residents on the northeast side, traffic on Rep Store. Both those two, Seabrook is involved. If we can't come to an agreement with them or haven't been successful in working with them, well, let's see if we can work with our county representatives to see if they can help us get together. We also have an issue, I think, with flooding in some of our older areas, perhaps due to the outdated storm sewer system. So we need to be able to work with WCID 50 to try and examine that situation. If they are unwilling or uninterested, again, let's work with Harris County and pull them in and get Big Brother, to get us to sit at the table and address the issue. For all these issues, it helps having data to back your story. Measurements, that will help you make your case. With each situation, if we need a consultant or whatever we need to do, collect that data to help make our case, let's just do it and get it done.
Relationships are probably one of the more important things that a mayor and council too can do. I've been on council long enough to be in two administrations. The one before this previous one, the one we're in now, was not big on relationships. And it was very hard to work when you really needed to work together. It was extremely difficult. Whether you've alienated the water board, whether you've alienated Taylor Lake Village, whether you've alienated Seabrook, it was not easy to do things. I've experienced both sides of this. I am a firm believer that the mayor is the first that needs to go across and ensure that the relationships with our neighbors are intact and they're healthy, and it's a priority. Because we're going to be dealing with some threats, and we're going to be dealing with it. We're going to have to all band together in order to get that done. And it's one of the top priorities I have in terms of being mayor and ensuring the future of the world.
These are standard problems that most communities face. This is anything new, been around a long time. It's very simple. The traffic implementation plan is out. You can go down to TxDOT and get it. You can meet with traffic planners. Yes, you need to go meet with Seabrook, and you need to come together with a solution. That's data-based. Okay, you have to have data if you're going to go ask for money. If we're going to go to the county and we're going to ask them to do something, they're going to want more than a good idea. They're going to want to have your data, and they want to have you really a way to defend it, and they want to know how much you're going to put into the till. So we need to communicate with you, but most of those studies are completed, and that data is available. It just takes people who are experienced with it to get it and put it into the right hands and get those meetings started. I do have experience in that. I've worked with TxDOT for over 20 years. So that just takes organization and management. And so everybody here is right. You just need to go do it.
I think that's going to end our question and answer portion, and we're going to move into the closing statements. And it's going to be Mr. Briggs, you're going to be first to make your closing statement.
I have to go first.
You get to go first.
Tell me when my time starts.
You start.
Thank you all for coming tonight. It's nice to see this many faces here. I don't have any ambitions as a politician. I'm a pretty capable, I've owned an engineering company, I'm a pretty capable engineering person, and I can get projects done. I do demand accountability, and I do demand openness, and I do demand that we all treat each other truthfully. So, I'm offering to become your mayor tonight. I'm not desperately seeking to be your mayor. I have no political ambitions, but I will do it. I'll do it for a couple terms, I'll do it well, and I'll put professional management systems in place here for the next person who comes along. However, I will tell you that I'm most committed to working with all of these people here when we bring in the new government. And I thank you all and ask you to do the same.
Mr. Skelton?
Wow, everybody's still awake. Okay.
understand that was boring.
I want to be your mayor. I think I have the experience for it. I think that I have the experience and the history to go along with it. There's certain things that I want to do. I want to make it easier to approach the city. I got a very definite plan how to do that. I have a plan for day one when I come into the city. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit the ground running. We've got to get the city secretary in here full time and get that going. We have to make sure that every one of you and everyone outside here, whether you're a condominium owner or whether you're living on this side, you know how to get a permit. You know how to engage the city. You know when the city council meetings are. You know what it is. I want to bring that to you. I want to put that in place. So I appreciate your vote and thank you for coming.
Well, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I want to thank everyone who showed up here tonight. It's so important to come into an election and when you pick a candidate that you're informed. Don't base your info on secondhand knowledge. Don't base it on rumor or innuendo. All of us hopefully are here and available. My email address is jeffdave@earthlink.net. My phone number is 281-326-5098. Call me if you have a question or if you hear something that doesn't quite sound right. I think it's important to choose people that will work the hardest for you and that have a dedicated track record. I followed council prior to being on council. I was on council for 8 years, and I followed council since, continuously. I've missed very few council meetings. I care about the city, and that shows by my interest. I'm offering my service and my expertise to help city council make the best decision, and I can work with anyone who becomes mayor for this next city. Thank you.
Thank everyone for coming, and I want to be your city council member. I think that we've reached an impasse and we need new blood. We need new representation. And I want to be that voice for everyone. In the city, in the neighborhood, in the condo section. If you're a citizen, you deserve to be heard. Freedom of speech is important. I think that we need some new blood up here. We need to be able to work together, and I can do that. I want your vote. I'm asking for your vote because I promise you there will be no one that works harder than me to get the people's will done. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Mahalik.
All right, I'll be short because you guys don't have a choice. No, I've said all along, I'm here to serve you guys. So I'll serve as long as you want to serve, and I'll serve to my best of my ability, and that's kind of it. And I'll wear Hawaiian shirts every day. So that's kind of it. Peace, love, and El Lago. Viva El Lago!
Ms. Vernon.
The mayor of El Lago may be an elected official, but in truth, it's basically a volunteer position. It's a position that takes great time and effort and commitment, which means it's got to be an absolute labor of love. I've served this community for a cumulative 17 years working for local government entities. I have the operational experience here to do a good job for you. And I believe that I've shown you that love and that commitment and that dedication through my time. So I'm asking you to vote for me on May 6th to be your mayor. I'm very excited to get started. Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for coming, and I especially want to thank the candidates. This is a very difficult Just as a reminder, early voting starts Monday, April 24th. It goes on through Tuesday, May 2nd. Early voting is here in the City Hall Community Center. And of course, the election day is Saturday, May 6th, and all here at the Community Center. The candidates will stay after, I'm sure, and talk to you, especially if you put in a question and we didn't have time to address it. I'm sure they would love to talk to you about it. At the end of the table, I have some information on the League of Women Voters. please pick up, if you would like, our guide to elected officials that has the names and contact information from all the elected officials of our area, starting with president all the way down to the school board. So I encourage you to get that. Thank you for coming, and thank you for taking part in making democracy work. Thanks.